necessity is the son of failure. Leader Fan Radio Network.
I don't know.
And KFAN.com. 2 minutes and 29 seconds past the hour of 3 Central Daylight Time. Welcome back to a very special Tuesday edition of the afternoon aardvark on what is starting to look like a very threatening Tuesday afternoon here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. I look to the west, Guardsy. It looks like the boom busts are coming. Do we have any severe weather warnings? Because, as you know, people come to us for the very latest,
they do,
state-of-the-art weather messaging.
I can tell you that showers and thunderstorms are expected in the next couple of hours. Chance of precipitation is 80%. I don't have any colors on my screen, like a yellow or a green or a red, that would indicate severe or any type of warning, but the rain and the thunder, they're coming. They're coming.
Well, if we get any warnings, we'll pass them along to you at least an hour or two later. It might be a delay of that long. We'll try to be a little more expedient than that.
It depends, when the forecasts line up and if I'm by the computer.
Guardsy produces the show. My name is Dan Barreiro, former Ink Stain Wretch, newspaper of the Twin Cities. The challenge last night, and it is directly related to why indeed we are, your necessity is the son of failure. I don't think that's a famous saying. The famous one is, isn't one of them necessity is the mother of invention?
Oh, yeah.
Necessity is the mother of invention. In this case, I'm suggesting necessity is also the son of failure, which I'll explain in a minute, because it's kind of directly related to an urgent phone call I got out of nowhere. If I hadn't said, I got to go, I might still be on the phone with Sam Mitchell.
I was going to say, it has to be Sam.
It was Sam, and he was on fire.
Really?
Well, and it wasn't like he was angry. He wanted to talk Wolves, and he had a lot of other things on his mind. Some of them from the toy department, some of them from the A section.
Oh, no.
Some of it from the B and the C sections, too. Yeah, he was, honestly, even by Sam Mitchell standards, I, most of the time, nodded into the phone.
Yeah.
Hoping he could see me nod, even though we were on the phone, because there wasn't much room. It was more of a monologue than a dialogue.
Think about this, Dan.
That's it.
Think about it. The Strait of Hormuz was open.
That's it.
3 months ago, it was open, Dan.
That's about right.
And now it's open again.
That's about right.
Think about that.
I will say he called when he heard the news that broke last night that indeed the Julius Randle era of Minnesota Timberwolves basketball has come to, or will soon come to, a screeching halt. And I think it's fair to say that he was willing to strike the contrast that a few have since then, that, that cat trade probably doesn't look quite as good right now. He just won a championship, didn't he? Said, yeah, he did.
Yeah.
So that's where I believe necessity in this case is the son of failure. The necessity part is trading Julius Randle was a necessity. I think it had reached that point, which sounds, when you look at some of his numbers from not that long ago, even early in the playoff run, you'd say, that's preposterous. How can it turn to that degree? But I think what we're learning is that sometimes teams and even presidents of basketball operations need to listen to their own players. You don't want that. That doesn't mean you allow the players to run it. But if they're the ones in the locker room and they're the ones who are constantly in close proximity to one another, and they are signaling one way or another, this cat's got to go, then he's got to go. That's the necessity part. To a certain extent, it's you hope addition by subtraction, as we talked about yesterday. But I will say that does not leave out the other half of the saying. Necessity is the son of failure. The fact that it was a necessity, or that the Wolves felt at this point, Tim Conley felt it was a necessity because he clearly felt it was, whether it was him on his own, him in consultation with his head coach, who obviously has loved the player,
right,
or Tim observing other players and picking up vibrations, whatever the case may be. It is a failure. That this became the necessity is a colossal failure for this organization. Undeniable. Degree of failure? Well, that's where we probably have to wait a little bit. Because the elephant in the room is this $33 million, whatever exception it is that we have.
Yes.
I'm worried, based on some of the reporting from Johnny Athletic, who's going to give us bonus time today at, 4:30?
Correct.
That money ain't going anywhere except in the pockets of A-Rod and Mark Lowry and the former mayor of New York City. That's what I'm worried about. Now, we have time to see. In fact, I guess they have a year before the thing, as an exception, evaporates, right? And that they, in effect, have to give it back, I guess, to the league. I don't even know how that works. But right now, there is no one in their right mind who can tell me. And by the way, I'll again raise my hand. I endorsed the trade of Karl Anthony Towns to New York for Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo. Not walking away from that. I'm not conveniently forgetting that's where I was. That was then. This is now. If you are so desperate to trade away a main cog, the best player you got back, at least on paper, the most accomplished player in the Karl Anthony Towns deal, if you feel obligated 2 years later, so compelled that it is so necessary, such a necessity to move him, that you literally discover the only way you can move him is to beg and to throw in a draft pick. Now, it's a low one, but nevertheless, a draft pick. That's a failure. There is no way in your right mind that can be, as far as I'm concerned, rationalized, justified, or explained. That's a failure. A viable player with viable numbers, allegedly, and you couldn't give him away unless, I'm sure this is how it went. Brooklyn said, we need the pick, too. You want us to take this on, then we're not giving you a player back. Or if they did, probably players we weren't interested in. That's the only way we're going to take them. Think about this. The Wolves could not get a single viable, living, breathing basketball player for Julius Randle. 2 years removed from what looked like, okay, it looks like they're different and there's some pros and some cons, but overall, we're still in a good spot. That's a failure. Now, will it be a little less of a failure if somehow they turn that $30 million into a player that surprises us with how effective he can be? There's a lot of names floating. I don't think there's any, because everybody now keeps coming up with, well, who do the Wolves want from Boston? Derek White. Check his salary. $30 million. Well, yeah, that sounds good, but I don't think the Celtics are just going to say, hey, do you want Derek White? We don't even want anything back.
Right.
So you're back to, what are you going to, I guess you could say Rudy. I have absolutely no idea. But that potentially could mitigate it. And of course, we still have the young center who now obviously is going to have more playing time, who we all love. But we have to see it. We haven't seen anything yet other than very raw promise from him. Could he change the thing from feeling less like a failure? Yes. If he's big time, definitely. But even I, as down as I was on Julius Randle, I have to admit, I was a little stunned. Because there's no way they didn't look around. There's no way that Conley didn't basically say, Julius Randle's available, boys and girls. Call me. Or let me throw out a couple ideas of what I'd like in return. And everybody said no, except one team that may or may not even want to keep him. I don't even know what their intention is with him. He's not going to be a part of their future because they're supposedly in the mode where they're trying to go young and they may look at him as, again, a salary piece. I don't know. So on that level, when you may have to, at some point, this is an example of it, your choices are at this point, be stubborn and refuse to accept reality. And that's probably a worse choice. Because Conley could have said, well, this is too embarrassing to make this deal. It's going to make me look bad and make this organization look bad. So we're just going to keep him, and we're going to wedge him in and try to make it work. That's not the smart move. I give him credit for understanding that this was a necessity, as hard as it had to be to do. But it's a long way from when this deal was made. And I don't, like I said, I think there was any way that people envisioned his value going down to this level, to the point where you are literally giving away the guy who was considered your second best player. Your second best player. They got money back. That's it. So I do think, based on everything we've been told, you've been told, that this was the point they were at. But for people who say, well, talk to Johnny about this, because Johnny said, look, what this is also is a message being delivered to Naz and to Jaden.
Right.
We believe in you.
Yeah.
And you guys both have to take it up a notch, right? Naz is going to go into the starting lineup.
Yep.
That's true, but I'll say again, they're doing it out of necessity. I don't think they're doing it out of belief that necessarily this team's better without the depth that is, that I guess you have in your back pocket if Naz is still coming off the bench, etc. So it may well be that Jaden will be unchained a little bit. Perhaps, I think Julius averaged 15 to 18 shots a game. It's a lot of shots. So they got to go somewhere, and maybe that will give Jaden the urging to take the next step. I don't know, how many shots is fair for him. I don't know how you want to divvy it up. Hopefully, it's both of them taking some of those shots away. But I'll still say that if you're saying, well, I believe in who we have. We can build this thing. You don't have a choice. Maybe you'll be right. Maybe now Barreiro is ready to take the next step. We've seen some promise from Shannon. Maybe he's ready to take another step, right? And you say, okay, those are the right ages, man. We want to be back in the 20s if we can. And again, Randle is, I think, 32, and maybe has seen. Probably, it's fair to say he's seen his best basketball. It's difficult to say for sure. But as a guy who is as down on Julius as anybody, I was still stunned that there wasn't going to be like one team to say, we'll give you a player. We may not give you, we may give you a young player, or we'll give you some, because we're intrigued with what he offers. I was left shaking my head, and that was sort of the Sam Mitchell approach. But then Sam eventually said, look, if he's that big a problem, if that's more than just piling too much on him, then that's sometimes what you got to do. Because one of the things he talked about is the degree to which one player, who's, by the way, not disliked, is what I've heard, personally.
Right. Everybody likes him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But bothered many of his teammates with that hangdog approach, and then at times the way it translated on the court to just not trying often enough or hard enough. You have to do it, and sometimes it can clear the room, and it can get fresher very quickly to that extent. So as a guy who's coached Moody players, he has said, hey, look, you didn't get much. You didn't get anything. But sometimes it's sort of what you have to do. And that's sort of where we are here. Now, today's the draft. Tonight's the draft. Right now we're picking 33. That was part of the swap, right? We moved down 5 spots.
Yes, exactly.
So we didn't, when I say we gave up a draft choice, we just swapped draft choices.
Correct.
And so we'll see if we keep that pick. Is there another move in the making? How quickly might we find out about whether we intend to use the 30? Because let's break. I don't want to get too far behind schedule, because I want to ask you a question regarding your reaction last night, but to a larger issue as well, which is nagging me a little bit. And I've tried to resist it because I felt like some of it might have been sour grapes from within the organization. But I'm starting to worry a little bit about whether, at the very least, we got to monitor this particular issue very closely as we go forward. Louis at 3:30. NHL draft, I think, is Friday. Of course, we don't have picks in either of the first two rounds, but we can certainly talk trade rumors. There's a bunch of interesting stuff there with Luigi at 3:30. Johnny, as I said, at 4:30. And our resident soccer expert, Brett Blakemore, is going to join us as well.
He's had a day, by the way.
I lost myself. I'm not going to lie to you. I lost myself today. Every day it's another big knocker whose eyes I lose myself in, and this time it was your guy Ronaldo. 2 goals today. They toyed with Uzbekistan. Was it 4-0 or 5-0? I don't remember what the final score was, but Ronaldo made World Cup history today.
5-0.
5-0 ain't bad. All of that and your text via the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 64686.
You're listening to Barreiro on the Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center.
All right, here's my shot across the bow, and then I want you to get on this aspect of the story as well. If the Minnesota Timberwolves, under new ownership, make whatever moves are necessary to avoid, not talking about second apron, any luxury tax, with Anthony Edwards approaching his prime, the owners should be impeached. And I don't even think owners can be.
Not for that.
Let's be clear on something. We've been very hard on the poll ads. I think they've deserved almost all that they've received. But the Wolves, in my opinion, on the basis of some equity by their standards the last 4 years, have not reached a point where it will be acceptable on any level if they avoid all aspects of the luxury tax, and that every move, including this exception, is set up in order for them to do exactly that. Then they will be called out on it. We are watching. Can't do it. Or if you mean to do it, then go ahead and don't wait for Anthony Edwards to say he wants out. That whole draining process, it's already begun. Speculation on that. Trade him. Don't even bother. You cannot, as far as I'm concerned, hit those shortcuts. And look, there have been murmurs. There have been a lot of whispers about this. Within the I would say within the organization, without the organization, outside of it, that there's some signs. You know, we were mad at Glenn Taylor about a lot of stuff. He brought up on some of his own misery. But on this issue, every time you get a new owner, that's one of the things you're watching. How many corners are they going to cut in the name of whatever fiscal sanity they're looking for? Where are you on all that?
I'm definitely watching it. I don't believe this trade exception is going to be part of that. I think this is a legitimate piece that they're going to use at some point, whether it's today, whether it's later this summer, or whether it's during the season. Because we got to remember that too. Like, everything's happening right now.
Yes.
But there's a season that happens where there's another trade deadline where a lot of things can actually happen. And so I don't think they're going to sit on it like you kind of hypothesized at the beginning of the show. That, to me, would be impeachable because that's a valuable asset. That's in theory.
Well, no, at the start of the show, I didn't say they'd sit on it. I said what I said then was how much of a failure this is depends on whether they use that money. Now I am saying I'm watching and I'm concerned. I'm not ready to say, no, they're not doing it. But read Johnny today. Read a number of people very subtly seem to keep going with well, they might want to avoid the luxury tax altogether. That's very different than second apron stuff I get.
Right.
Luxury tax, no, but go ahead.
So that's where I'm not as down on the whole concept because I'm much more of a addition by subtraction with Randle. Because I go all the way back to you had to trade Karl Anthony Towns, and maybe I should go back and actually think about who might have been available that they could have gotten besides Julius Randle. Other trades that would have been on the table for him that would have worked out better. Because I'm just kind of thinking, and I thought a lot about it, obviously, last night and today. You had this older team on one side and this younger team with Naz and Jaden on the other, and you were kind of running them along the same track with Anthony Edwards as the focal point of both of them. And obviously, you're starting to transition a little bit out of the older team into the younger team now. And it always felt to me that Randle was going to be some kind of a bridge. I think the 3-year contract they gave him emphasizes that it was a bridge for them in general, whether it was going to be 1, 2, 3 years. When you factor in, they just signed Ayo last night for 5, right? So I'm not down. I know that it looks horrible because right now what you have to show for Karl Anthony Towns is an injured Dante DiVincenzo and Berenger. But I'm willing to see what the next, when all the chips are down and all the dust settles and whatever they do with that exception and whoever else they're able to bring in, because they can also do some mid-level thing now with the financial flexibility if they want to. I'm more willing to give it an incomplete until we see what happens.
Oh yeah, no, maybe you're misreading me. I'm not saying it's an F because again, we don't have all the information yet. But in terms of asset management, having to trade away Julius Randle for nothing is bad asset management. That doesn't mean, again, on a larger scale, that I think I said there was necessity to even if you know you're giving him away, there was necessity on the basis of what he represented here. He was becoming the guy identified as the reason the locker room was so weird. Now, we may come to find out that was put too much on him.
Yeah.
But that's so, yeah, I don't know that we're in that much disagreement.
We're not.
I do think I want the warnings to be out now that I'll just say again, maybe their intentions are good on spending and they're waiting it out. I'm talking about the owners. But I would say to them, you should be, by now, hopefully you've been in this town long enough. Don't misread the market.
Right.
The market will turn on you on this because they're invested now.
They are, big time.
As you know,
7,000 people were at the uniform.
Exactly. So
look across the street.
The market. Yeah. We got to the conference finals 2 straight years. We recalibrate a little bit. We'll save dough for a couple of years. I think the rage of those fans on this team, if they go down that road. So I'm trying to protect them from themselves.
Right.
And maybe they don't need it. Like you said, maybe there is a plan that Conley has already said, no, we got 5 players. We like 3 or 4 of them, and they all might fit into that $30 million window.
And if then it's Randle for that guy, then it looks a lot different.
Yeah.
Then it looks a lot
better.
different.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
Lastly, on the moodiness part of it, because I tweeted this last night, this is the other part now. It's like, as Johnny said, and as we've all said, Nas is in the starting lineup now, and Jaden, they're expecting a lot of him. And Jaden had a great year last year, and I think he's done being underrated nationally. I think he's on his way to all defensive teams because of everything he did. The Denver, I see a lot of bad defenders, and he backed it all up. The loudest mood on the team is gone, but that takes away the cover from those 2 guys who are also very moody. And now we're watching them. Now we can't. Now we're not distracted by Randle being moody and not doing anything. Now we're going to watch again when Naz Reid gets a foul and
everything
he's mad.
Can't be Julius Randle's fault anymore.
Exactly. Or he doesn't get in a defensive stance and a guy blows right by him. Like, this is now, it's your team now.
Correct.
Like, they're giving you the team. And with that comes a responsibility.
Yeah. It's going to be very interesting. And I don't get much of a sense that the feeling among the experts from the Jackals is they're going to make another move right now. I don't know now that they have to, like you said, regarding that $30 million thing. But somebody, I thought it was it Johnny or was it Hines? Somebody basically said, I think it was Johnny, that he didn't expect that it was going to be used, or that his hunch was it wasn't going to be used. And we'll ask him at 4:30. When Johnny writes like that, usually what it means to me is he knows something.
Right.
And we'll see. Maybe I misread it. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else who said this. Because on the other hand, nationally, it's been, well, they're setting something else up that's big.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, for sure.
And I think locally it's been more, well, not necessarily big. Now, again, $30 million, you can get somebody nice, right? That's for sure.
There's a lot of good $30 million players. The Wolves have a handful of them.
Yeah, that's true. Can we get Nikhil back? I don't remember what he's making at this point. I'm late for Louie, and I do want to talk to him about some new Minnesota Wild trade rumors. And I want to throw some names by him that we haven't before that might well be available and how he feels about each of them. So questions for Luigi, 646-86. Johnny, a bonus time with him is scheduled for about an hour from now.
You're listening to
Well, she sneaks around the world from New York to Carolina. sticky finger culture from Berlin down to Belize. Take you for a ride on a slow boat to Chinatown. Where in the world is
New Nanny?
I wonder if it's difficult for me to believe Louis still local because the weather here is brutal. I mean, the boom busts are out,
Yeah,
heavy
buckle up for
rain,
where he is.
thunderstorms. So I'm assuming he's someplace exotic. But let's find out. Courtesy of our good friends at Kemp's, it is time for Luigi. Are you in some tropical location today?
Well, I'm in Nassau, the Bahamas, at Rosewood, Bahamas. I'm at NFP Partnership Conference that we were invited to, and it's been really nice weather here, 87 to 90 with a breeze. We were able to play golf today. It was very nice.
So let me guess. The conference part of it is about 90 minutes, and then the rest of your time is free to go play golf, hit the beaches, shop, do whatever you want to do.
Well, it wasn't 90 minutes. It was 9 minutes for the presentation.
Yes.
It's because my son has been the chairman of their partnership group for 6 years, and his term was over, and they invited his family, and my wife and I had come down here when they were honoring him. So we just had to go in when they were, playing a video of him, et cetera, and watch that for about 9 minutes, and then my duties were over.
Yeah, good. Well, all
I
right.
couldn't get a flight home till Thursday. So he couldn't
Sure.
get a flight home till Thursday, he said. So he'll have to hang out for a few more days.
And that might be delayed because there's the bad weather here, so you might as well just stay there an extra day or two. Can I start with a soccer question, a World Cup question?
Yeah.
How much is your guy Tino into this World Cup so far? Because we're still only in the early stages. I'm totally lost in it, Louis. I can't get enough of it. I've enjoyed. Well, I'm watching countries I didn't even know and didn't until I learned about, and following almost all these stories. He's got to be, I'm assuming, a kid in a candy store right now.
He just never stops watching it. I mean, for him, he had the good fortune of playing in the World Cup and then playing in the Olympics, and in fact, he's in Canada's Soccer Hall of Fame, so he's very involved in it. He really was looking what Canada's doing, what the U.S. is doing, and of course he knows the players all over the world. It's like he's still playing, and I get a kick out of him because I see him. He watches from sun up to sundown.
Yeah, right.
He's got some excuse why he wants to watch this team or that team, and it's bigger now because it's 60. To me, it's like the NCAA basketball. They're going from 64 to 32 now.
Right.
And it's just mind-boggling, and it's going all over the North America. You got so many different cities. Every time you look at a game, they're coming from a different area, and I tell him I'm just going to watch the last 2 minutes to see who scores and who wins. He watches every pass, every whistle, everything going on.
Yeah. It's and there's a lot of big knockers. Historic names like. Ronaldo today, Messi, this Mbappe character from France. Who's the big Norwegian with the pony, with the man bun? Holland, I think is his name. He's tremendous.
Yeah,
you got. I think for casuals, having superstars, right, make it more. I think it's more approachable. You can relate to it a little bit more, even if you don't completely understand all the strategy and what's going on in the game.
Well, the good thing, just like you said, it seems like every team's got somebody that's really renowned in the world of soccer. And I have to tell you, I was in Toronto last week in business, and for the opening game, I left the day before the opening game. The city was crazy. And Canada was playing, I think it was Bosnia in the first game, was Bosnia, and Bosnia was the one that upset Italy.
Right.
And I was having dinner with a client of mine, and he says, "Boy, am I glad that Italy lost." I said, "What?" I said, "I want Italy in there." He said, "Yeah, you don't understand. All my clients are Italian." He says, "I was committed to $500,000 worth of soccer tickets if Italy was in." He said, "And if Italy was in, the stadium would have seemed like Italy was their favorite team, not Canada." So Toronto is just a crazy soccer place. And, it's like a melting pot to start with. So there's so many different communities there, and they're, all following soccer. Soccer is a huge game in Toronto.
So I don't think we haven't talked since the Kachuk trade, right? I don't believe we have.
Right.
Are you bitter?
Right.
I mean, we were allegedly in on it. Russo has reported that we offered essentially the equivalent of 4 number ones, but that he means between players and draft choices. But obviously it didn't go our way. Are you bitter? Are you devastated? How badly did you want him?
Well, I would have wanted him big time.
Yeah.
But if we get Larkin, then I'd be pacified. But I really would have loved to have seen Kachuk on the team. It doesn't have to be a centerman, you know, if we get just another big, strong, effective, competitive forward like he was, would have been just a home run. And I'm, a little disappointed that Ottawa's waiting to pick players and wait for that development. They get a high pick this year, so that's something that obviously moves them because it's supposed to be a good draft. But I would have loved to have seen that deal made.
Another name that has surfaced a little bit, I shouldn't say it's surfaced yet. Speculation is that it might. So what about Vincent Trocheck? What does he do for you? I think he's about to turn 33 years old, but he's still
34 probably.
Yeah, 33 actually this summer. So what about him? Are you intrigued by him? Is he too old? What's your evaluation there?
No, I think he's still an effective player. I'm not intrigued by him. I would like to see them get him. If they don't get Larkin, he's probably the best center that they could get because he could still skate. There's a couple other centermen that are coming up, but they're not really quick. If you watch the playoffs, you see what Speed did with Carolina. They were able to create so much pressure defensively. Every time Vegas was getting the puck, they were on them so quickly they gave no room to operate. Trocheck's a good, very effective checker besides being a smart offensive player. He's had an excellent career since he got traded to New York. He was in the Canes, and I think he was in Florida too. He is a real good player. I have to tell you, I don't see New York moving him. I just don't see New York moving him unless you really move New York because they can't keep giving away players. You know, they just won basketball. Jury's got to be feeling a little pressure right now. You don't give away players for people that you're waiting to come and develop them over maybe 2-3 years because you might not be around for 2-3 years. So I don't think he's going to be in the market. Yeah,
you're right. That's no sure thing at all. I think people are throwing out names because we all want to hear names, right? That might be available. But that's the rest of the league is not just working for us, right? That's the thing. I mean, they're going to make their own decisions independently. Here's where it's interesting too. Zuccarello remains unsigned, and part of the speculation, Louis, is this is kind of related to sort of waiting things out on Larkin. Like, if you're able to acquire him, then how much money goes into that? How much money are you going to have left? The concern is, if you wait too long, is Zuccarello going to be, maybe snatched up by somebody else? How do you play? You've been in that position before. How one move affects another, and sometimes makes it difficult for you to be as aggressive as you want to be.
Well, you know what Larkin is going to cost. He's got a long-term contract right now, and his number is already fit into their planning if they get him. And I hope to heck that if they get him, that doesn't mean that they don't have room for Zuccarello because they're already going to be missing a couple of forwards that produced this past season. And we all know that Zuccarello can still produce. And one thing they're saying, but he's 39. That's right. He's 39 and can still skate, and his head is getting better. It's getting smarter, not dumber. And I don't know. I'm really surprised they haven't got that one closed up. I'd be really concerned if they end up losing. They've already lost Johansson. Yeah. They could lose Tarasenko. It looks like they are. You lose Zuccarello too. You've lost some production there, and who's going to make all that production up? And by the way, we know how much he contributes to the success of Kaprizov offensively, and I'd like to see that thing get buttoned up.
I'm wondering if some of it is maybe the numbers his people have thrown out there are higher than we expected. Whether that's entering into this, I don't know. I guess there's a lot of unknown in the story right now. You mentioned Tarasenko. Russo wrote, I think today or yesterday, that the Wild believe Brink can step into the Tarasenko role. Do you share that confidence?
Yeah, I think the Wild, really struck gold when Tarasenko produced extremely well this past year for them. Now, whether he could do it again, I kind of think he could, because he's not that old. And the one thing about goal scorers, they know how to score. I think Brink's he's gonna produce some offense, but Tarasenko's got a lot more experience. And I'm a little concerned if you're betting on Brink matching those figures.
Yeah, immediately.
Of Tarasenko, right. Losing Johansson, and then not having Zuccarello. I think when you're focusing on the one position under one individual like Larkin, and the sides are falling off, where's the production going to come from the third and fourth lines? And let's be honest, if you look at the Canes and winning their Stanley Cup, their third line was just huge. It was unbelievable. Now, have you got a competitive third line in the Wild if you've lost all those guys and haven't replaced them with anybody, or just internally? I'm a little concerned about that. I want to see Zuccarello signed, and then you can continue to focus on Larkin.
Yeah,
I still think that Yzerman might not be moving so quickly. Yzerman doesn't get bullied into making moves like some of the other general managers. He's got the patience to wait. He's strong-willed. He knows what he wants, and he isn't going to be forced to make a deal that he doesn't want to make.
What about if we're throwing out names at this point? Let's say somehow Zuccarello does escape us one way or another. Patrick Kane's name has come up. Lee has come up as well. Veteran wingers that perhaps this club could look at. The kind of contracts where there'd be performance bonuses, etc. What do you think there?
Well, there's no way that I see Lee playing for less than Zuccarello's asking for. Mm-hmm. I don't know what they're talking about. I mean, Lee's younger, and I know he doesn't skate as well as Zuccarello, but he can produce, and he's big and he's strong. And Kane's basically the same age, and I don't see him coming here unless everybody else is passing on him. He wants to go back to Detroit, and I'm still. I don't know who else is going to give Zuccarello more money than the Wild are going to give him when he's 39 years old. That's why I think the Wild are waiting a bit, because they're not concerned that they're going to lose him to somebody else till they figure a few other things out.
There's a lot of speculation that, okay, we re-signed McCarron, I think a move that you approved of, definitely. What are the futures for Trenyon and or Sturm?
Well, the one thing about Trenyon he gave you a lot of physical ability. I think that when you're looking at it, because you got McCarron, he's going to take faceoffs, he's going to kill penalties, and having him, his presence, probably makes Sturm more liable to be gone than Trenyon, because Trenyon led the league in hits. You still want to be in that force physically. I wouldn't be surprised if Foligno signed for $900 or something that came back. So you still have a line of McCarron, Foligno, and Trenyon that would, give you the physicalness you need besides having Marcus Foligno there. And so I think that if they could get a move for Sturm, and I think he would be desirable for some teams, that's the move they would make, and that would free up a little bit more money for them.
Jacob is checking in from Maple Grove. For Louis, he writes, wasn't the Wild leadership just in the Bahamas for their annual meeting? Coincidence? Real question. Louis, no?
No, they were in the Bahamas, but they were in a different island, and I'm in Nassau. They were probably about 100 miles southeast of here.
All right, fair enough. His real question for you, Louis was pretty in line for the Kaprizov contract extension, AAV. What does he think the magic number is for Quinn Hughes?
I think Quinn Hughes is going to be 3 years, $15 million. And I'm not saying that he's not worth more than that, but I'm saying to him, the ability to just be tied up for 3 years
I see.
with substantial dollars. With $15 million is nothing to sneeze at. And wait there till the cap will probably jump about another $25 million or more by the time that 3 years is up. And then they'll be making something like 22 or 24. So I'm figuring he's going to be 3 years between 15 and 16.
That sounds low, doesn't it?
Well, it is low because the term's low.
Yeah, right. So that's the trade-off.
Yeah. The Wild right now, I think, would give him $17 million for 8 years and be very happy to do it.
Right. But you think he wants the flexibility?
Yeah, and which I think is smart. It's just like McDavid. Everybody's, congratulating McDavid on being such a good guy, taking 15 or 15 million for 3 years. His agent's so dummy. It wasn't he was being a good guy. He was waiting for the salary cap to go up like it's going to go up, and McDavid's going to make about 22 million to 25 million after this 3-year contract's up. So when you put the total dollars together, you're going to see he's far out, way ahead of where he would have been by signing, for 18 million for 8 years. He's going to make a lot more money over an 8-year period than that.
NHL draft, I believe, starts Friday. Of course, the Wild do not have any picks as of now, at least in rounds 1 or 2. So what the hell do you do when you don't have picks in the first 2 rounds if you're the general manager of a hockey team?
Well, you go out to dinner and what you're really doing is you're trying to feel the market. You want to know who's available, who might be available. You're looking to move up if you see a player that your guys really like that you think they can develop. There's going to be teams doing a lot of movement, like Toronto. I'm happy to say my grandson led the Marlies to
I saw that.
winning
the
Calder Cup.
Yeah.
Well, they got some youngsters that I watched playing that team. You're going to see Toronto making. I think you're going to see Toronto making some moves because Cowan was on that team. He played with the Leafs most of the year. Quillen had some time up there, and they got a young defenseman came in from Junior Brantford. They and their goaltender, I think. One of the reasons why you see him deal a goaltender is because the goaltender on that team was tremendous. And I think you're going to see like 4 people move up from that team, which is going to move some of the people from Toronto out. And you're going to see a lot of activity. So maybe they might want to pick up somebody that's going to be moving out of Toronto. Yeah. Like a Nicholas Robertson might be moving out. He's a producer. He's a type of player that would be a Carolina type player. He's not deep, but he's really fast and he can score goals. He's always going to get to 16 or 20. So maybe the Wild might want to pick him up for something.
Sure. Yeah.
He might be available. I think you're going to see the Wild just looking and seeing if there's some deals around the edges that can replace the type of guys that they're losing on the 3rd line and 4th line.
You had to preside over several drafts. So compare and contrast for us. I mean, all these drafts, whatever the sport, hockey, basketball, football, they all look so sophisticated and intense and well organized compared to the old days. Even the old NFL draft. You go back to some of the first NFL drafts, those guys, a bunch of guys in a smoke-filled room, like in a hotel, like one of those banquet rooms, for God's sake. Now it's these huge operations. I'm sure you could speak to the contrast of how it's changed over the decades.
Well, when push comes to shove, it really hasn't changed that much because at the end of the day, I don't see anybody not doing it. Here, your scouts meet halfway through the year. They meet at the end of the year. They formulate a list of players that you want to be able to get, and you have a list. And the only thing that might be is probably different from say what I did and a couple of us did. Once I had that list formulated by the scouting department, I wasn't going to change it at the draft table. I used to tell them, nobody gets better at the draft table. I said, so what you give me is what I'm going by. Because, you say you have a list usually had a list from 1 to maybe 150 players in junior. Well, as you're striking off a list, now if you come to a guy that's, say, on your list of 32, and all of a sudden they're pushing for a guy that's 75, I'm saying, how did this guy get better all of a sudden? You know, I was talking here. You spent all this time in that, so you're not going to change it. The way it's changed is the data that they're collecting now compared to what we did. You know, they do a way more things in depth than we did, and they have way more tools to gain stuff about their their physical abilities and their speed, their strength, etc. than we had, and so that's all combined into it. But that all formulates information for the draft, and you come up with a draft list, and that's something that I see not changing at all, because that's what you're doing. You're using all the tools you have to come up with a list to give you who you'd like to select in certain positions when your turn comes.
Last item for today. The Minnesota Timberwolves, as you may have heard, traded Julius Randle for practically nothing. And part of it, I think, was a belief internally that Randle, as good as he could be at times, had reached a point where his moodiness was sort of, I don't know how to put it. It was saturating the locker room with a bit of a dysfunction that they felt they had to move on. And we can argue about whether that's fair to Randle or not. I'm really not asking you to comment on that. But here's what I am asking you to do. When you were general manager, did you ever make a move in which you traded away a player, not necessarily so much for what he did or didn't give you on the ice, but a belief that on the basis of your own observations and maybe what your coach had heard, and even what you may have heard from some players, that you needed to remove him from the locker room culture?
Yes, I'm not going to say the player.
That's fine.
But definitely. And I'm sure it happens. The only thing that's different, I just would die to have to give up a first-round pick to get rid of a player.
Yes.
We had a tool that they don't have in basketball yet. I can't believe they haven't negotiated that in the collective bargaining agreement. Had they had a buyout clause, which you have in hockey,
right,
they could buy him out and not have to give a first-round pick up to lose him. You know, you'd rather pay the money, suffer, some of the pain by you would have complete $33 million clearance, but you might have, say, $16 million clearance and get rid of the player, not lose the first round. Our times were different because there was no free agency.
Yep.
And I only traded one first round pick in my whole life, and I just would not give up draft choices. I accumulated draft choices because we didn't have the opportunity to have free agents sign with us.
By the way, the Wolves did end up, basically they swapped. So they lost 28, which is a first rounder. They got 33, which is not a first rounder, but it's basically moving down 5 spots in effect. Lastly, what's the big dinner tonight? What do we get? Where are we headed tonight? Do you know yet?
Yeah, I was hoping we were going to Cafe Blue because I really like Cafe Blue, but we're going to a place called Echo Gallery first, and then we're going to a dining room here. This, it's amazing because you have the Baja Mar here, you have the Grand Hyatt, and you got another hotel. There's 3 together. And when you're sitting in the penthouse suite last night, top of the building, I looked around, I saw 10 pools between these 3 hotels.
10.
And I couldn't believe it. I mean, the shops here and everything, this, the Atlantis is a name people know more. It's older.
Yes.
And I think they're starting to rebuild it a bit because it was getting tired. This is one of the newer ones, and it's exquisite. And they have a lot of different things to do besides having a casino right in the building there, which is very nice.
Well, I'm glad to find. So you had the penthouse suite, or that's where the meetings were?
No. What?
Oh, I thought
the head of the company had the penthouse suite. I was just there for dinner.
Just hanging out for dinner. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, have a wonderful time. Safe travels back, and we appreciate the help as always, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Look forward to talking to you.
Thank you, Louie. That is Lou Nanne, Dateline Bahamas today, because somebody has to do it. Sounds like the presentation went about 9 minutes today, which does leave plenty of time for fun and relaxation. it's good being Luigi. I think we'll all agree to that.
You're listening to Barreiro on the Fan.
From the 1-800 Ask Gary Traffic Center. This